Welcome to the Disneyland Beat, where our toes tap to a Disneyland drum.
And we always whistle while we work.
Well, we just spent an amazing week at Disneyland. We had a really wonderful time.
We spent 3 days at Disneyland and 2 at DCA, and we had somewhat different experiences at the 2 parks you're going to want to know about. And if you're visiting soon, we've got some great tips for you.
Like, subscribe, and stick around.
Disneyland is your land.
Come seek an adventure at the old pirates, eh?
Make the jump to Lightspeed.
The Disney magic is back at the parks for sure. We had an amazing week. Disneyland is looking fantastic. Almost all of the attractions are back open, and even more than we expected, we saw upgrades and refurbishments throughout the entire place.
From Big Thunder to the Matterhorn to Flying Spider-Man and Radiator Springs, everything was looking updated and incredible.
We didn't have much trouble getting fed using mobile order, though we did stick to the counter service restaurants. Standby was available at most places, but not all. The food system is not back up to full capacity or the usual options, but it's getting really close, and we didn't find ourselves missing any particular treats or needing to plan too far ahead.
And we saw a ton of characters throughout the week, and we were so happy to see them. Only a few traditional character meet and greets in the streets of Return. Most are socially distanced, though those were still a whole lot of fun.
There is some great entertainment to be had. We love the mini shows in Avengers Campus, and the Disneyland band parading around with Mickey and Minnie in the lead. Five and Dime are performing at Carthay Circle, and the Pearly Band are providing entertainment around Disneyland.
Not to mention the fireworks have returned, and the updated Mickey's Mix Magic is wonderful.
But if you are headed into the parks, you should know it is pretty crowded. It may not be full capacity, but it sure seems like it, at least at times. Some parts of the park would be easy to get around, and others, the typical bottlenecks, would be pretty packed.
For the most part, we saw all the attractions running at full capacity whenever possible. The cast members are amazing. In general, as many cars or trains as possible seem to be running, even all 4 lanes of Autopia at one point. And it's great to see cast members being trained and the rides buzzing with life.
With the large crowds, standby lines can get pretty long. Nothing too bad, but sizable. I think the longest line that we saw and waited in was 2 hours.
Both parks are offering rider switch on attractions that used to offer Fast Pass, and we saw this being used a lot. And a few rides like Space Mountain and Matterhorn and the Incredicoaster are offering single rider again as well.
At Disneyland, this didn't seem to affect our days at all. There are so many attractions to experience at Walt's Original Magical Park that if you don't want to do 2 really long waits back to back, you have lots of options and you don't feel like you're missing out on anything.
It was easy to work around the crowds and longer lines while still riding what you wanted to.
But we do have to say we did find Disney California Adventure to be a slightly different story.
Once we got to DCA, we really started missing Fast Pass. There are just not as many rides. You have a similar amount of people from Disneyland all wanting to ride the same half-dozen e-ticket attractions.
Again, it's really more of a cumulative thing that makes it challenging. You expect long lines for racers or Guardians, but when you have to wait 30, 45 minutes or more to ride Monsters Inc., Luigi's, Silly Symphony Swings, Goofy Sky School, well then that's another story.
For much of the 2 days we were at DCA, we found the lines overall seemed much longer than Disneyland's, with far fewer walk-on experiences and shows to space it out. Although, I gotta say, we did love the animation building and the Avengers Campus shows.
And of course, we had an amazing time and we discovered so much Disney magic, and we found the time for every ride that we wanted to ride on our visit. But we did see a lot of exasperated first-time visitors during our week, and we do have a dozen quick tips that we wanted to share that were inspired by those first-time frustrated visitors.
Number 1, if you're new to Disneyland, you simply have to get familiar with the app. You need it to access everything still, from being able to order from mobile order only dining locations to getting ride boarding passes and virtual queue placement. If you've not used it for some time, make sure it's up to date.
Number 2, we saw a lot of people looking for physical maps, and that's fine, and I like to collect these, but you should know that the best map is on the app. It shows you the wait times, where the restrooms are, dining standby times, and even when shows are happening, so you won't miss Avengers Assemble.
Number 3, you'll need advanced reservations for table service dining locations, and for counter service locations, expect very long lines for standby orders. Consistently, we found you'll get your food faster and with less hassle if you just mobile order via the app.
Number 4, remember, if you want to get on Rise of the Resistance at Disneyland or Web Slingers at DCA, you have to get a boarding pass on the app. You can do this at 7 a.m. from any location like your hotel or your house, and again at 12 noon once you've been in the parks. At best, you're only going to ride ride each ride once each day. Competition for these remain really high, and boarding passes go in minutes if not seconds. You can do it. We were successful 4 out of 5 days, and we're sure you can get your boarding passes too.
Number 5, be ready for lots of sun. Several of the extended queues wind around where there's no shade. Web slingers even took us backstage at DCA, and the extended queue for Radiator Springs has almost no shade at all.
Number 6, it is perhaps more important than ever to get there early. The lowest crowds and the shortest lines we had in the parks were in the mornings. Right now, both parks open at 8 a.m. We experience short wait times at both parks until about 10 a.m. each day. We suggest doing nothing but riding rides during that time.
Number 7, bring water. It's not quick to grab water from a counter service location anymore unless you're getting food already due to the lines. And we don't know about you guys, but if our step counting apps are to be believed, we average between 10 and 12 miles of walking per park day. So make sure you stay hydrated.
Number 8, don't depend on crowds lightening up in the evening. A few weeks ago, we saw lots of reports from YouTubers saying the parks were dead after 5 p.m., but that was not the case during our visit. Fireworks at Disneyland have returned, and evening crowds didn't lighten up until the last hour or even half hour before the parks closed.
Number 9, remember that you can get into a line right up until the park closes. We did this every night, and it was a great way to get on rides we didn't want to wait out in the bright sun. Plus, you get to walk out of an almost empty park.
Number 10, be aware breakfast eaters. Breakfast in the park is still coming back in full, and we found it a little bit harder to find than other meals. Disneyland only had a few options with the Carnation Cafe still closed, and during our visit, the only place to get breakfast in all of DCA was the PIM Test Kitchen.
Number 11, the longest lines at Disneyland last week and the ones that everybody seemed to be rope dropping were at Space Mountain and Indiana Jones Temple of the Forbidden Eye. And at DCA, of course, it was Radiator Springs and Guardians. So plan accordingly.
Number 12, finally the last tip is just temper your expectations just the tiniest bit now, and you're going to have an amazing time. The park is almost back to normal, but not exactly every service is yet back in place again. So you still have to be patient, listen, and just follow the Disneyland magic, and you'll find it.
That's it for now, folks. We have a lot more in store.
We have hours of footage that we're sifting through and new content coming soon.
See you real soon, Mouseketeers.
See you real soon.